Welcome to Ask Dr. Tom. We connect with Dr. Tom to talk about all things health and wellness, cancer treatment, etc. This is Ask Dr. Tom with Dr. Thomas Incledon. He's the founder and CEO of Causenta Wellness and the Causenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona. From working with NFL, MLB, MMA, world-class athletes, and even the White House, Dr. Tom's reputation of personalized medicine and cutting-edge technologies have put him on the map for caring for some of the most powerful people in the world, making him one of the most sought-after healthcare professionals of our time. Some of these are heavy topics, and this one is no different. We're talking today about triple-negative breast cancer, and this is the first time I'm hearing about triple-negative breast cancer. I can imagine that some women out there are also wondering, what is it? So, Dr. Tom, what is triple-negative breast cancer?
So, triple-negative breast cancer is when a woman has a diagnosis of breast cancer that is negative for an estrogen receptor, it's negative for progesterone receptor or receptors, and negative for another receptor called a HER2 or HER2. So you got three different common receptors that are found in breast cancer, but when all three are negative, then you get the further delineation of triple-negative breast cancer. And it's a type of cancer that it gets a lot more fear out of women, or maybe couples, for example, if the husband finds out his wife has it, because there's a lot of concern, as far as what happens long-term if you have a triple-negative breast cancer.
This is Ask Dr. Tom, and you can grab episodes of Ask Dr. Tom at AskDrTom.com. We're talking with Dr. Thomas Incledon, and the topic today is triple-negative breast cancer. How common is this? I mean, we hear, unfortunately, today about breast cancer in general, and it seems to be the general breast cancer seems to be more common than ever. But how common is triple-negative breast cancer?
So about 10% of the women with breast cancer have triple-negative breast cancer. One of the things I'd like to maybe insert that doesn't directly answer that question, or maybe just gives a little bit more of an overview, is that, in most cancers, the way they're treated is typically some form of chemotherapy, radiation, or surgery. You don't normally say remove everything. Yet with breast cancer, there's kind of like this approach where, hey, if you have this cancer, instead of just removing a lump, women out of fear and reactive thinking may say, remove both my breasts or remove my ovaries because of the concern about, what could happen later on. The problem with that approach, though, is it doesn't address circulating cancer cells in the blood, and some of those cells may form tumors elsewhere in the body. So a lot of the recommendations that are made for women, I think, are somewhat barbaric, and they definitely need they need to be improved upon, because surveys of women where they ask women what would they like, the majority of women say, I would prefer something that doesn't damage my breasts and damage my ovaries, which is kind of common sense. Imagine a man, if he has testicular cancer and the doctor goes, hey, we got to remove everything, they're not going to be very anxious to get that done or confident about the outcome afterwards. With the concern about triple-negative breast cancer, though, is that if the outcomes after 5 years are not as good as other types of breast cancer, or different types of breast cancer. So let's say if you have one of the other receptors positive or all three positive. So there's a lot of fear that develops, like people look at numbers and the numbers say, hey, if you have this, it's really bad, it's really, you're going to suffer or you're not going to make it. So it makes people do things reactively. And what I would share is that there are still lots of options, and that's the main point I just want to make, is that, it's not like a death sentence. It's not like, you're being locked away in a jail cell, you're never getting the key again. This is something where you just got to have a little more strategy involved, and then you can figure out, hey, there's something here that resonates for me, that I feel comfortable, going down that treatment path, if you will.
This is Ask Dr. Tom, a show where we talk with Dr. Thomas Incledon and we ask him questions about health and well-being and wellness and the cancer-fighting work they do at the Causenta Cancer Treatment Center in Scottsdale, Arizona, where their mission is to kill cancer once and for all with minimal side effects. The topic today is a new topic for me, triple-negative breast cancer. But one of the themes of Ask Dr. Tom and some of the segments we do here is rather than asking Dr. Google or WebMD or whatever, you should ask Dr. Tom. One of the things that you could come across when you Google, like I did and the other folks as part of this team did, is this connection between BRCA1 gene mutation and triple-negative breast cancer. Obviously, people that are going through this experience or diagnosis have a little bit more insight into what that might mean. But what is the connection between the BRCA1 gene mutation and triple-negative breast cancer, or if any?
Sure. So what happens is if, let's say, a woman feels a lump in her breast and she goes to see a physician, they may order a biopsy specimen. That biopsy specimen would be sent out to a lab, and that lab would do some type of pathology workup where they're going to look to see the types of genes that are present. And if someone has a BRCA1 gene, the likelihood of, let's say, their natural genetics having a BRCA1 gene, and that could lead to an increased incidence of a triple-negative type of cancer. So the connection is, if you as a woman have a BRCA1 gene, it increases the likelihood that you may develop a triple-negative breast cancer. And that triple-negative breast cancer has lower survival rates, 5 years after treatment. So the concern may be there's a higher risk of death with that type of cancer using standard conventional treatment methods.
We're talking with Dr. Tom, and we're talking about a form of breast cancer, triple-negative breast cancer, and what it means and what you can do about it. African American women are, according to statistics, are 3 times more likely to develop triple-negative breast cancer than Caucasian women. Is that true, and do we know why?
Yeah, so there's definitely an increased likelihood of certain segments of the population. So not only is it African American women, but it's also Latina women have an increased likelihood of developing a triple-negative breast cancer. Now, up until somewhat recently, they weren't really sure why. They were trying to look at, different reasons. But very recently, there's a molecule that was discovered in the nucleus of certain cells, and it's called a N, lowercase n, and then KIFC1. And you could just look at it as a molecular diagnostic marker. So basically, you might say there's a sort of a protein that's been uncovered, and it's higher in African American women. So that indicates then there may be some relationship between that protein and the likelihood of developing a triple-negative breast cancer. There's other factors that may be linked to that, the socioeconomic status, obesity rates. Those are also different in African American women and Latina women versus Caucasian women. So at this point, in terms of tools, there's a lot of attention going towards targeting that molecule to see if you could interfere with it and then changing the likelihood of the progression of the cancer. So I'm asked all the time by patients, what's the difference between personalized medicine and traditional medicine? And in traditional medicine, there's a singular approach. So you have cancer A, and for cancer A, here is the standard of care treatment. And after you go through the standard of care treatment and it doesn't work, typically there's not a plan B. There's not another option. So then patients are told, hey, there's nothing else that can be done. And so then they're convinced that, hey, there's no hope and we can't do anything else. Now I want to contrast that in a personalized approach that we have at Causenta. We're going to measure all kinds of details within your body. And we're going to find lots of areas that we can actually improve your health. And then indirectly, by improving those areas, we're going to help you do a better job at fighting cancer. So where someone else would say, hey, there's nothing that could be done, we're going to say, hey, there's lots of opportunity here to improve your health and make sure that you have a better quality of life so that you're able to function and live life under your own terms and not just waste away in a bed in hospice somewhere and watch everything go by you as time passes on. So if you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer and you're looking to get help, I strongly encourage you to go to Causenta.com and fill out the form at the bottom of the page and find out for yourself how we can help you.